Valve, who makes the Steam Deck, just announced that they're going to be expanding their hardware offering to 3 other pieces of hardware. The Steam Frame, which is a VR headset, the Steam Controller, which is a controller, and the thing I'm most excited for, which is the Steam Machine, which is the equivalent of what they say is 6 Steam Decks all crammed into one box. This is Valve's big swing at making the Steam Store a big part of your gaming experience in the living room, not just in front of your PC or on the go. And as somebody who's been in on the Steam Deck since day one, because I've always wanted to have better access to my Steam library, I have a really good feeling about the Steam Machine. Before we get too deep into the weeds here, my name is Dan and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is a place where I like to talk your ear off about video games, and if that's the kind of thing you're into, then make sure you subscribe. There are a lot of people who I know have always wanted to play more indie games and games that are available on PC first that didn't have that opportunity until they bought a Steam Deck. As a matter of fact, my partner has been diving into all sorts of different indie games simply because we've got this Steam Deck around the apartment. So we already have really good evidence around how well Valve is doing in bringing PC gaming into the home market. They're simply making it more digestible to not only play games on Steam wherever you are, but also to buy them, and that's their goal ultimately, is to get more and more people buying games on Steam. And to be honest, that's not a bad thing either, because Steam usually has some of the best deals in gaming all year round. And it might sound like I'm shilling for Valve at this point, but I'm not sponsored by them at all. I'm just really excited about what they're doing in this space. But the main reason I'm really excited for the Steam Machine specifically is because I actually use my Steam Deck docked most of the time. Don't get me wrong, I love that console as a handheld console mostly. I mean, it is a little big, but I really think you get the most out of it when it's hooked up to a television. The user experience of the operating system is pretty good. I'm sure they're going to improve it for the Steam Machine, but it really does work well as a home console already. The only thing it's lacking is that extra bit of juice for the AAA and higher quality titles that are available on PC. And that, of course, is where the Steam Machine is going to come in. So in reality, the only thing that needs to happen now for the Steam Machine to be a really big success is the price point. And that's one thing I'm really nervous about, because this could go either way. On one hand, it's really clear that Valve is saying, hey, we're going to stand shoulder to shoulder with your PlayStation 5 and your Xbox, and we're going to make this decision just as difficult or easy as it was to buy one of those consoles. But on the other hand, Valve has said that this is a PC and it will be priced as such. Personally speaking, I don't want to spend anywhere near $1,000 on another console when I already have a decent PC for playing games on, and I have my home consoles as well. It's not like I'm starving over here, but I really do want that home console experience with higher fidelity gaming on the Steam Machine. I do want that. That is something I desire, but there is an upper limit to how much I'm willing to spend, and I'm sure that's the case for a lot of people who originally decided to buy the Steam Deck. Because one of the really enticing things about the Steam Deck is that it's fairly priced. If you want to play some indie games on the go or hook them up to your TV, that is a solid console to get for that reason. And obviously, pricing is always going to be a big factor in the purchase that you're going to make, but I do think that Valve places themselves in between the PC gaming market and the console gaming market, depending on how well or not well they price this thing. So what we've got now is Valve sitting with this momentum from the Steam Deck, and they're ready to move all those players over into a Steam Machine at the right price. It is worth noting that Valve is also taking a swing at bringing VR into the home as well. Like, you don't need a PS5 or a big PC to play VR. I don't know too much about the details here, but I do know that Meta sort of has a chokehold on VR, and that's not really a good thing, and the VR space has been suffering because of it. So Valve comes around, they've got the Steam Frame, and all these great games that can be played in VR on Steam are now going to be playable on native Valve hardware, which I think is really exciting. I'm not sure if I'm gonna buy a Steam Frame right away. I really don't have too much of a vested interest in VR personally. I also don't really have the space for a VR headset. This room is where I play a lot of my video games, and you can only imagine what I would do if I had like a Star Wars video game with a lightsaber. I'd knock over everything on these shelves every single day. And as for the Steam controller, there's really not too much to say here. It looks exactly like what they've done with the Steam Deck, where you've got controller buttons and also a thumb pad on each side, which is sort of like a mouse. I don't use the trackpad personally a lot, but I do love the idea of finally having a dedicated controller for not only my Steam Deck, but also my future Steam Machine. At the moment, I'm using my PlayStation controller on the Steam Deck, and I mean, I love the ergonomics of the PS5 controller, but I do get a little frustrated that the glyphs, which is like the prompts for buttons, are usually the buttons you have on a Steam Deck or an Xbox controller, and not a PlayStation controller. So I do have to map A to X. It's not that big of a deal, but just the idea of having a dedicated controller does sound kind of nice. So what do you think of the Steam Machine? And what is your upper limit on what you would spend on a Steam Machine? Is this the kind of console that you've been waiting for? Because personally, I've always wanted to play games in a home console experience, but on my PC, because I always knew I had really good games on my PC. So to see that sort of come to fruition with the Steam Deck already, because like I said, I have a dock, but now the Steam Machine is really exciting for me. And this is the kind of thing I want to see more of. It's going to be a really healthy competition, and it's going to make a lot more indie games available to a lot more people. So let me know in the comments how you feel about the Steam Machine, and if you're excited about the other pieces of hardware as well. And let's not forget, Valve also did sneakily mention that there is plans for another Steam Deck. I'm personally hoping for a smaller Steam Deck that's maybe a little more powerful. That would be great, but we'll see what happens. They haven't really released anything else, but let me know how excited you are for any of these pieces of hardware that Valve has announced, and I'd be happy to talk about it in the comments with you. And if you liked this video, then make sure you like the video. I mean, like, actually click the like button. And if you really like this video and you want to see more of this, then make sure you subscribe to my channel. Other than that, thank you for letting me talk your ear off about the Steam Machine, and I will see you in the next one.